Authenticity.
Yeah, Barry. So we got something down around be yourself, or and we talked about authenticity, and that's something that I picked up from you about being your authentic self. So what does that mean, especially in the time to talk kind of thing when we're talking with young people online?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of, for me, when we're being curious with people, trying to find out what matters to them, trying to have good conversations and making those connections and slowly kind of building relationships, it's about kind of just bringing my whole self to that. So being authentic, being Barry, not trying to be someone else, because that's not authentic. People see straight through it.
Yeah.
Inauthenticity, if that's even a word, doesn't drive connection, and kind of connection drives trust, and kind of vice versa. So it's really important that I'm authentic and I'm me, and not trying to be someone else.
So how would that materialize? How would you be expressing that on a virtual call?
So I would just that's really great. It's a great question, John. I would just behave and be how I would normally behave and be. Yeah. So I wouldn't kind of suit up metaphorically or physically. I'm not going to start imagining a tick box exercise and tell me more about what matters to you, John. It's about genuinely trying to connect. So it kind of goes back to our intentions. My intention is to connect and have a great conversation and see what happens. What you might see or hear in terms of being authentic is that I'm willing to share. I'm willing to talk about things that matter to me, because this is a conversation. It's a two-way dialogue. So it's not just Barry asking John what matters to you. I might share that with you. I might say, what really matters to me is connection, is love, is time with my family. Having time by myself. I love music. All that kind of stuff. And I'll often use it when we're talking about aspirations. What does your best life look like? When you're 25. If I could, I would. What does that look like for you?
So what does that look like for you, Barry? If you're going to share, what's your aspirations then?
It's great. So as you can probably tell by the hair, my best life at 25 was a few years ago. So if I was to say what my best life looked like, or if I could, I would. If I could, I would swim from England to France.
Right. Okay.
If I could, I would hang 10 on my longboard in a barrel. A bit technical, but basically I'd surf or Icosa it, just an invitation.
Absolutely.
You can plant a tree while searching the web. Check it out, Icosa. So
hey, you're bringing your authentic self here, aren't you?
There you go. Yeah. That's right. Absolutely. What about yourself? What does kind of authenticity mean for you?
Yeah, I think you're right. I remember in my training, so my background's in health and social care, and I remember in my training, I heard so much about keeping professional distance. I'm thinking, that distance, just how like you talked about connection, and I think it's a real skill if you want to get posh and to disclose stuff about yourself, that helps that and nurtures that connection, that trust, that equality of conversation as well. I'm more than happy to talk about who I am. I'm more than happy to talk about my life and my family. And I think if you just share a little bit about yourself, you get so much back. But if you, like you say, you've got your checkbook, you tick box, and you're going through that, it creates that gap, I think, as well. And I'm meeting a guy tonight on the Time to Talk program. Last time I met him last week, I was belly laughing. He was so funny, and he's he can take things off the telly. So he was doing this amazing impression of Anton Deck on "I'm a Celeb to Get Me Out of Here." But I just laughed my head off, So I think to have to laugh is okay. If I find something funny, I don't have to seek permission to laugh. I will laugh at it, and be a bit cheeky chappy as well. So that's a bit of my authenticity as well. And I think you're right. I think it is about that kind of connection. And people see through, like I say, long are the days gone when I was wearing a grey suit and tie. And I feel just to be is enough. I don't have to try to be a super professional or super facilitator. I just need to turn up and be who I am. And that's enough. And I think if we have more people just turning up with their true selves, I think there'll be much more connection with people as well. Both your colleagues you're working with and the people you're trying to support to have better lives.
Absolutely.
Hey, so we talked about intentions. So we thought about as you're arriving to have those one-to-ones, those virtual meetings. We're saying about what matters. So that's our starting place to connect and talk through, not to make assumptions. I'm still learning on that one as well. We also talked about appreciation and a strength-based approach as well. And then we kind of finished off with be yourself, you know, turn up as who you are and don't be afraid to share. Is there anything else, Barry, that we think pearls of wisdom that you've got that you could share?
It's kind of almost obvious, but you know, we need to kind of think about it, and it's the kind of the art of good conversations around good listening,
Yeah,
and asking good questions.
absolutely.
You know, that kind of you know, that sense of a conversation is a bit of a kind of a dance, you know, and we're dancing together.
Yeah,
And whilst we're talking, you know, I'm being curious. I'm not in my own head thinking about what I want to say or disagreeing, or you know, or
sure.
let me tell you about a time when. But
Yeah,
I'm kind of really listening. I'm curious about what's being said. I'm non-judging, and I'm also kind of, this might sound a bit out there, but I'm listening to the space. And you can do it online as well as you can physically, and kind of calling things out, you know. So tell me where I'm wrong, John. I'm sensing you're a bit bored, you know, or
yeah,
I'm not, right? I'm not, but you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Good
It's that
example.
kind of stuff. Great
Yeah,
example. Bring it to life. Or John, you know, talking about what you want to do when you leave school. Am I getting this right? Maybe, you know, you're kind of pushing back a bit. Do you not want to talk about this right now? Or do you know what I
yeah,
mean? That kind of stuff, you know, and naming the stuff that often goes unnamed. So I think listening is really important, and the art of kind of asking good kind of open questions.
yeah,
I was really fascinated, John, by a chat we had a little while ago about you were working with someone that was described as a selected mute, so would only
yeah,
respond to you in kind of one of 3 words.
yeah.
And you know, tell us about that, you know, in terms of you know,
So
asking
yeah,
questions.
so we're sitting here. So I just spoke to him today actually, and we're sitting here like this. So I've got a blank screen, and all he will talk to me is through chat, and usually it's one word: yes, no, fine, whatever. So I've just got to think about different ways to engage him, because he can see me, he's happy to look at me, but try and work out a plan with him, you know. So it is about thinking about your future. What would you like to do? Have I got that right? So it's slightly more closed questions for him, so he can respond within that. I don't know if you see, I don't know. I can't see him to say, you know, are you can't be bothered to type, or is that your limit of your language? You know, it's really hard. But you know, 2 sessions in, we have If I Could I Would, great kind of things there, and he's got a plan for 2 years, which is really good. And he's looked at his life now, and he knows next time we meet, we're going to close that gap. So here he is now. This is where he wants to get to, and we're going to work as hard as we can to close that gap. And that was just from one word answers. So again, not making assumptions that he can't contribute to that. It's about facilitating, checking, making sure, yeah, what I've written up. And the great thing with him there was we had a collaborative PowerPoint presentation. So he's got a link to it and I've got a link to it. And so we both can type into it outside of our one-to-one sessions. So I screen share and he's looking at that. What I've typed in there, does that make sense? And he just says, yeah, that's fine. Oh, hang on a sec, I haven't put that verbatim like you typed on chat. Do you want me to change it? Yes, please, or whatever. So then I change it. So there is ways. So you've got people like me that can just talk forever. And you work with that, and you've got people that you just need to respond in a different way. Two things I've heard, and I'm doing a course at the moment, and they're saying 80% listening, 20% talking. You know, the 80-20 principle. So you should be 80% listening to 20% talking. That's a kind of coaching framework.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I heard is that often people listen to respond. So I'm listening to you, ready to fire back as soon as I can. The only reason I'm listening is I want to get my 2 pennies worth in, and we should listen to understand. And there's a difference there. Listen to respond or listen to understand. So absolutely, I'm glad we've kind of shoehorned that last thing in about listening. I appreciate that. Yeah, powerful and really important.
Yeah, can I quickly share one more kind of
Yeah,
experience from time to talk, John? So it kind of cuts back around assumptions. So thinking about a young woman I was told that won't really talk or won't really come on screen. One thing that I got an appreciation for is that the not responding or not talking is time to think. And it took me some time to appreciate and recognize that. And I had to be kind of comfortably uncomfortable with the silence. So I had to kind of surf the silence, knowing that that wasn't anxiety inducing for the young person. They were processing, they were thinking. And actually, you know, when we unpicked that with her a little bit, I think that was part of that was learned behavior. She was used to people within 2 or 3 seconds of the silence jumping in and asking another question, not giving her time to think, you know, and that's the person that wanted to be a police officer. So, you know, that kind of listening to the space, as weird as it sounds, you know, giving people time to think. Absolutely.